The divorce papers felt like ice in my hands. I stood there in the middle of Grandpa Robert's living room, surrounded by 30-plus members of the Johnson family, all staring at me with wide eyes and open mouths. The annual family reunion had just turned into my personal nightmare. "Well, Rachel," Jessica said with that fake sweet smile of hers, "I thought it was time you finally got the message. Michael wants to move on properly now." My ex-husband stood behind his new girlfriend like a coward, not even looking me in the eye. 2 years since our divorce, and he still found new ways to humiliate me. But doing it here? In front of his entire family? At the reunion where I'd been coming for 15 years? My hands shook as I looked down at the legal documents. Final dissolution of marriage was printed in bold letters at the top. But we were already divorced. What was this about? "It's about custody, dear," Jessica continued, reading my confusion. "Michael thinks Emma would be better off with us full-time. You know, in a stable home environment." The room went dead silent. Even the kids playing in the corner stopped their games. Aunt Margaret gasped. Uncle David's jaw dropped. Grandma Linda put her hand over her heart. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Not just any laughter. My 13-year-old daughter Emma was laughing. Actually laughing. While this woman tried to destroy our lives in front of everyone. "Emma," I whispered, shocked. "This isn't funny." But Emma kept laughing, wiping tears from her eyes. She looked at Jessica with this strange smile I'd never seen before. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that made my stomach flip. "Oh, Jessica," Emma said, her voice carrying across the silent room, "you're really something else." Jessica's confident expression flickered for just a second. "Excuse me?" Emma tilted her head, still smiling that scary smile. "I mean, you have some nerve talking about stable homes and proper families." "Emma, what are you doing?" Michael finally spoke up, looking nervous. My daughter ignored her father completely. She kept her eyes locked on Jessica. "Mom, should I show everyone what they were doing in Grandpa's office?" The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the old grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. Jessica's face went from confident to confused, to something that looked like panic. "What are you talking about?" Jessica's voice came out higher than usual. Emma pulled out her phone. Her fingers moved across the screen like she was looking for something specific. "Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about." I watched Jessica's face drain of all color. Her hands started shaking. She looked around the room like a trapped animal. "Emma, put that phone away," Michael said, but his voice sounded weak. "Why, Dad?" Emma asked innocently. "Don't you want to see what your girlfriend was doing while you were outside grilling burgers?" Uncle David suddenly stood up from his chair. His wife Karen looked between him and Emma with growing alarm. "Now, wait just a minute," David started to say. "No, Uncle David," Emma interrupted. "I think everyone should wait and see this." Jessica grabbed Michael's arm. "We should go. This is ridiculous. The child is obviously making things up." But Emma held up her phone so everyone could see the screen. "Am I making this up, Jessica?" I couldn't see what was on the phone from where I stood, but I could see Jessica's reaction. She looked like she might throw up. Her grip on Michael's arm tightened. "That's not... You can't..." Jessica stammered. "Can't what?" Emma asked sweetly. "Can't show everyone the video I took of you and Uncle David in Grandpa's office an hour ago?" The room exploded. Voices started shouting all at once. Karen jumped up from her chair. Grandpa Robert's face turned red. Grandma Linda gasped so loud I thought she might faint. But through all the chaos, I kept staring at my daughter. My brave, brilliant, fierce daughter who somehow had just turned the tables on the woman trying to destroy our family. Emma looked at me and winked. "Should I press play, Mom?" 3 days earlier, I stared at the phone in my hand, reading the text message for the 5th time. "Annual Johnson family reunion, Sunday at 2 p.m. Hope to see you and Emma there. Grandma Linda." I wanted to throw the phone across my small apartment kitchen. The last thing I needed was to spend an entire day watching Michael parade around with Jessica, pretending to be the perfect couple. "Mom, you're making that face again," Emma said from the kitchen table where she was doing homework. "What face?" "The face you make when Dad does something stupid." I sighed and sat down across from her. "Grandma Linda invited us to the family reunion." Emma's pencil stopped moving. "Is he going to be there?" "Probably." "With her?" "Most likely." Emma was quiet for a moment, then looked up at me with those serious brown eyes that reminded me so much of my own mother. Do you want to go? That was the question, wasn't it? Part of me wanted to hide in our apartment forever. The Johnson family had been my family for 15 years. I'd helped plan these reunions, cooked for them, celebrated birthdays and holidays with them. When Michael and I got divorced 2 years ago, I thought I'd lost all of that. But Grandpa Robert had called me personally last Christmas. Rachel, honey, divorce papers don't change the fact that you're family. You raised our granddaughter. You were there when Linda had her surgery. You're a Johnson in every way that matters. I don't know, sweetheart, I admitted to Emma. It might be awkward. Emma put down her pencil completely. Mom, you know what I think? What? I think you're scared of her. I'm not scared of Jessica. Yes, you are. And I get it. She's younger and prettier and she stole Dad from us. The way Emma said it so matter-of-factly broke my heart. No 13-year-old should have to think about these things. She didn't steal him, Em. Your father made his own choices. Bad choices. I couldn't argue with that. Emma leaned forward. But Mom, that family loves you. Grandpa Robert still sends you birthday cards. Grandma Linda calls you every week. Aunt Margaret asks about you all the time. Why should we hide just because Dad decided to be an idiot? Sometimes my daughter was too smart for her own good. Besides, Emma continued, I want to see my cousins, and I want to see Jessica try to fit in with our family. Emma? What? I'm just curious how she'll handle Grandpa Robert's stories about the war, or Grandma Linda's questions about when she's planning to have babies, or Uncle David's terrible jokes. I had to smile at that. The Johnson family could be overwhelming even for people who'd known them for years. Jessica had only been around for 6 months. You really want to go? I really want to go, and I want you to wear that blue dress that makes you look amazing. The blue dress is too fancy for a family barbecue. Mom. Emma gave me a look. Trust me on this one. That night, I lay in bed thinking about the reunion. I'd been avoiding family events since the divorce, making excuses about work or Emma's school activities. But the truth was, I missed them. I missed Grandma Linda's hugs and Grandpa Robert's terrible dad jokes. I missed the chaos of all the cousins running around and the way Uncle David always burned the hamburgers. I missed feeling like I belonged somewhere. The next morning, I called Grandma Linda. Of course you're coming, dear, she said before I could even finish asking. I already set places for you and Emma at the table. Linda, you should know that Michael will probably bring Jessica. There was a pause. Rachel, honey, I've been dealing with difficult people at family gatherings for 45 years. One more won't kill me. I just don't want any drama. The only drama will be if you don't show up. This family isn't the same without you and Emma. When I hung up the phone, Emma was standing in the doorway with a huge grin. So we're going? We're going. And you're wearing the blue dress? I'm wearing the blue dress. Emma pumped her fist in the air. This is going to be interesting. The gravel crunched under our car tires as we pulled into the circular driveway of Grandpa Robert's house. The big white farmhouse looked exactly the same as always, with its wraparound porch and hanging flower baskets. Cars were already parked everywhere. Uncle David's red truck, Aunt Margaret's minivan, and there, right by the front steps, Michael's black BMW. My stomach dropped. There's Dad's car, Emma said quietly. I see it. And that must be Jessica's. She pointed to a shiny silver convertible parked right next to Michael's car. Of course, she drives something flashy. I took a deep breath and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. The blue dress Emma had insisted on looked good, I had to admit. My hair was styled nicely, and I'd even put on makeup. I looked confident, even if I didn't feel it. Ready? I asked Emma. More than ready. We walked up the front porch steps, and I could already hear voices and laughter coming from inside. Before I could knock, the front door swung open. Rachel, Grandma Linda practically tackled me with a hug. Oh, honey, you look absolutely beautiful. Thanks, Grandma Linda. You look pretty great yourself. She was wearing her favorite yellow sundress and had her gray hair perfectly curled. At 65, she still had more energy than most people half her age. And Emma, my goodness, you've grown 3 inches since Christmas. She hugged my daughter tight. Come in, come in. Everyone's here. We walked into the living room, and I immediately spotted Michael standing by the fireplace. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt, looking relaxed and happy. Next to him stood Jessica. I had to admit she was beautiful. Long blonde hair, perfect makeup, wearing a white sundress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Rachel, Grandpa Robert's booming voice filled the room. He walked over and gave me one of his famous bear hugs. "There's my favorite nurse. How are you, sweetheart?" "I'm good, Grandpa Robert. Really good." "And Emma, come here and give your old grandpa a hug." As Emma hugged her grandfather, I noticed Jessica watching us. Her smile looked painted on, and her eyes were calculating. She whispered something to Michael, who glanced over at us and then looked away quickly. "Rachel, you remember Jessica?" Michael said, walking over with his girlfriend. "Of course. Hello, Jessica." "Hi, Rachel." Jessica's voice was sweet, but there was something sharp underneath it. "You look nice." The way she said nice made it sound like an insult. "Thank you. You look lovely too." Jessica smiled wider. "Thank you. Michael bought me this dress last week. He has such wonderful taste." I felt Emma tense up beside me. My daughter had always been good at reading people, and she clearly didn't like what she was hearing. "Mom, can I go find the other kids?" Emma asked. "Of course, sweetheart." As Emma walked away, Jessica moved closer to me. "It must be so hard for you coming to these family events. I mean, now that Michael and I are together?" "Actually, it's wonderful to see everyone. This family means a lot to me." "Oh, I'm sure it does. But things change, don't they? People move on." Before I could respond, Aunt Margaret appeared at my elbow. "Rachel, I've been waiting for you to get here. I need your opinion on something in the kitchen." I followed Aunt Margaret, grateful for the rescue. In the kitchen, she handed me a glass of lemonade and shook her head. "That girl has been here for 20 minutes and she's already rearranged Linda's flower arrangement and suggested we change the menu for next year. She's just trying to fit in. Honey, I've been coming to these reunions for 30 years. That girl isn't trying to fit in. She's trying to take over." Through the kitchen window, I could see Emma talking to her cousins by the pool. She looked happy and relaxed, which made me feel better. "Don't let her get to you," Aunt Margaret continued. "We all know who really belongs in this family." But as I watched Jessica through the doorway, laughing loudly at something Uncle David said, and touching Michael's arm possessively, I had a feeling this was going to be a very long day. The afternoon sun was getting hot, and I was tired of watching Jessica work the crowd like she was running for mayor. She'd spent the last hour telling everyone about her amazing job in real estate and how she was helping Michael reach his full potential. Every time she said something like that, she'd glance at me with this smug little smile. I needed a break. "I'm going inside to cool off for a minute," I told Aunt Margaret, who was sitting next to me on the porch. "Good idea. It's getting pretty warm out here." I walked through the living room, which was empty now that everyone had moved outside for the barbecue. The house felt peaceful and quiet, a nice change from all the chatter and Jessica's fake laughter. I was heading toward the kitchen for some water when I heard voices coming from down the hallway. Grandpa Robert's office was at the end of the hall, and the door was slightly open. I could hear people talking inside, but I couldn't make out the words. Maybe Grandpa Robert was showing someone his old war medals again. He loved telling stories about his time in the Navy. But as I got closer, I realized the voices didn't include Grandpa Robert's deep, familiar tone. These were younger voices, a man and a woman. I was about to turn around and give them privacy when I heard something that made me freeze. "Can't keep doing this, Jessica. Someone's going to notice." That was Uncle David's voice. What was he doing in Grandpa's office with Jessica? "Relax, David. Michael's outside playing with the kids. He has no idea." My heart started beating faster. What did Michael have no idea about? I knew I should walk away. This was none of my business, but something in Jessica's tone made me stay. She sounded different than she had outside. Less sweet, more calculating. "This is crazy," David said. "If Karen finds out, Karen won't find out anything unless you tell her, and you won't tell her because you have just as much to lose as I do." I crept closer to the door, staying in the shadows of the hallway. Through the crack in the door, I could see part of the office. Jessica was standing near Grandpa's desk, but I couldn't see David. "I never should have started this," David said, and his voice sounded stressed. "But you did start it, and now we're both in it. Jessica, I'm married, I have kids. This was a mistake." Jessica laughed, but it wasn't the fake sweet laugh she'd been using all day. This laugh was cold. "A mistake? David, you've been texting me for months. You're the one who suggested we meet up today while everyone was distracted." My mouth fell open. Uncle David and Jessica? But she was with Michael. David was married to Karen, and they seemed happy together. "Look," Jessica continued, "Michael is useful to me right now. He's helping my career, and he's completely clueless. But that doesn't mean I can't have a little fun on the side. What about Rachel? She's a good person. She doesn't deserve this." Rachel is pathetic. She had 15 years to keep Michael interested and she failed. That's not my problem. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. This woman wasn't just dating my ex-husband, she was cheating on him with his own brother and talking about me like I was nothing. I should go back outside, David said. In a minute. I heard footsteps moving around the office, and then I heard something that made my blood run cold. Kissing sounds. They were kissing in Grandpa Robert's office while the entire family was outside. I backed away from the door as quietly as I could, my mind racing. Should I tell Michael? Should I tell Karen? Should I confront them? As I stood there trying to figure out what to do, I heard light footsteps coming down the hallway from the other direction. I turned to see Emma walking toward me. Mom, what are you doing? Shh, I whispered, pulling her away from the office door. But Emma had sharp eyes and good hearing. She looked toward the office, then back at me with a confused expression. Is someone in Grandpa's office? Before I could answer, we both heard Jessica's voice clearly through the door. God, David, you're so much more exciting than your boring brother. Emma's eyes went wide. She looked at me, then at the office door, then back at me. Mom, she whispered. Is that Jessica in there with Uncle David? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Emma's expression changed from confusion to something I'd never seen before. Something determined and a little scary. Stay here, she whispered, pulling out her phone. Emma, what are you doing? But my daughter was already creeping toward the office door, her phone held up like she was recording something. The rest of the afternoon felt like I was walking through a dream. Emma and I went back outside, but everything seemed different now. I watched Uncle David rejoin his wife Karen by the pool, acting like nothing had happened. Jessica appeared a few minutes later, touching up her lipstick and sliding her arm around Michael's waist. I felt sick. You okay, Mom? Emma asked quietly as we sat at one of the picnic tables. I'm fine, sweetheart. But I wasn't fine. I kept thinking about what Jessica had said about me being pathetic, about how I'd failed to keep Michael interested. The words played over and over in my head like a broken record. Dinner time, Grandma Linda called out, and everyone started moving toward the big dining room. The Johnson family dinner table was legendary. Grandpa Robert had built it himself 40 years ago to seat 20 people. Tonight, it was packed with aunts, uncles, cousins, and kids. I found myself sitting between Emma and Cousin Jake, directly across from Michael and Jessica. Perfect. So Jessica, Aunt Margaret said as we passed around the mashed potatoes, tell us about your family. Are they from around here? Oh, my family's from California, Jessica said, cutting her steak with precise movements. My father's a surgeon and my mother's an interior designer. They're very successful. That's nice, Grandma Linda said politely. Yes, they always taught me to aim high. Never settle for less than you deserve. Jessica glanced at me when she said this. I think it's so important to have standards. Emma's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. I put my hand on her leg under the table, trying to keep her calm. Standards are important, Grandpa Robert agreed. But so is loyalty and kindness. Those things matter more than money or success. Jessica smiled sweetly. Of course, though I think it's possible to have both, don't you? Success and good values? Absolutely, Michael said, looking at Jessica like she'd just said something brilliant. Jessica's really helped me see things differently. She's motivated me to work harder, be better. That's wonderful, dear, Grandma Linda said, but I could hear the strain in her voice. Yes, it's amazing what the right person can do for you, Jessica continued. Sometimes people get comfortable in relationships and stop trying. They let themselves go, stop growing. It's so sad when that happens. The table got quiet. Everyone knew she was talking about me. I think, Emma said suddenly, that some people are just really good at pretending to be something they're not. Emma, Michael warned. What? I'm just saying that sometimes people seem perfect on the outside, but they're actually really different when nobody's watching. Jessica's smile flickered for just a second. That's very wise for someone so young. I learn a lot by watching people, Emma said innocently. You'd be surprised what you can see when people think nobody's paying attention. I squeezed Emma's leg harder. She was playing with fire. After dinner, everyone gathered in the living room for dessert and coffee. This was usually my favorite part of the reunion, when everyone relaxed and told stories and laughed together, but tonight felt different. Actually, Jessica said, standing up suddenly, Michael and I have something we wanted to share with everyone. My stomach dropped. Michael looked surprised, like this wasn't planned. Jessica, Maybe we should wait. No, honey, this is perfect. We're all family here. She walked over to her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. I thought this would be the perfect time to make things official. She walked over to me and held out the envelope with that same fake sweet smile. What is this? I asked, though I had a terrible feeling I already knew. Just some paperwork that needs your signature. Michael wants to move forward properly, and I think it's time we all accepted that the past is the past. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. The words final dissolution of marriage and custody modification jumped out at me. You want to take Emma away from me? I whispered. We just think Emma would benefit from a more stable home environment, Jessica said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Michael's doing so well now, and I can provide the kind of female role model a teenage girl needs. The room was dead silent. I could feel everyone staring at me, waiting to see what I would do. This is ridiculous, Aunt Margaret said. It's just what's best for Emma, Jessica continued. Some people just aren't cut out for single parenting. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Emma was laughing. Emma's laughter filled the silent room like a bell cutting through fog. Everyone turned to stare at my 13-year-old daughter, who was wiping tears from her eyes and looking at Jessica like she'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. Emma, what's so funny? Michael asked, his voice tight with embarrassment. Oh, Dad, Emma said, still giggling. You really have no idea, do you? Jessica's confident smile was starting to crack around the edges. I don't understand what's amusing about this situation. What's amusing, Emma said, standing up and pulling out her phone, is that you're talking about stable homes and being a good role model. Emma, put that phone away, Michael said sharply. Why? Don't you want to see what your girlfriend was doing while you were outside grilling burgers for everyone? The room went completely silent. Uncle David, who had been sitting quietly next to Karen, suddenly looked like he might throw up. What are you talking about? Michael demanded. Emma held up her phone so everyone could see the screen. Well, about an hour ago, I went inside to use the bathroom, and I heard voices coming from Grandpa's office. Emma, stop, David said quickly, but his voice came out as a croak. Stop what, Uncle David? Stop telling the truth? Jessica was backing toward the door now, her face white as paper. This is ridiculous. The child is obviously making things up. Am I? Emma asked sweetly. She tapped her phone screen. Because I have video. Karen stood up slowly from her chair. David, what is she talking about? Karen, I can explain. Explain what? Karen's voice was getting louder. Emma looked around the room at all the shocked faces. Should I just tell everyone what I saw, or should I show them? You show them nothing, Jessica snapped, lunging toward Emma. But Grandpa Robert stepped between them. Nobody touches my granddaughter. Emma, what did you see? Emma looked at me, and I nodded. Whatever she had recorded, it was time for the truth to come out. I saw Jessica and Uncle David kissing in your office, Grandpa, and I heard them talking about how Uncle David has been texting her for months and how she's only with Dad for his money and connections. The room exploded. What? Michael shouted. David, is this true? Karen screamed. You little brat! Jessica yelled at Emma. You don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I do. Emma held up her phone again. Because I recorded it. She pressed play, and suddenly Jessica's voice filled the room crystal clear. Michael is useful to me right now. He's helping my career and he's completely clueless. But that doesn't mean I can't have a little fun on the side. Then David's voice. What about Rachel? She's a good person. She doesn't deserve this. And Jessica again. Rachel is pathetic. She had 15 years to keep Michael interested and she failed. That's not my problem. Michael's face went from confused to hurt to absolutely furious in about 3 seconds. You said I was pathetic? Michael, I can explain, Jessica started, but then the kissing sounds came through the phone speaker, followed by Jessica's voice saying, God, David, you're so much more exciting than your boring brother. Karen let out a sound like a wounded animal and slapped David across the face so hard the sound echoed through the room. 22 years of marriage, she screamed. 22 years and you throw it away for this. Karen, please, David begged. Don't you dare, Karen said, grabbing her purse. Don't you dare say another word to me. She stormed out of the room. We heard the front door slam and her car engine start. Michael was staring at Jessica like he'd never seen her before. You used me. Michael, honey, it's not what it sounds like. You called me boring. You said I was clueless. You said Rachel was pathetic. His voice was getting louder with each word. I was just upset. I didn't mean... Get out! Grandpa Robert's voice boomed through the room. Get out of my house right now! Jessica looked around the room at all the angry, disgusted faces staring back at her. This is insane. You're all insane. The only insane thing, Emma said calmly, is that you thought you could get away with this. Jessica grabbed her purse and ran for the door. We heard her car start in the gravel spray as she peeled out of the driveway. The room was silent except for the sound of Michael crying. The silence that followed Jessica's dramatic exit felt heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm finally breaks. Michael stood in the middle of the living room, tears streaming down his face, looking lost and broken. Uncle David had collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. I'm so sorry, Michael whispered, looking at me. Rachel, I'm so sorry. For 2 years, I'd dreamed of hearing those words, but now that they were finally here, I felt more sad than satisfied. This wasn't how I'd wanted to be proven right. Michael, I said quietly, we need to talk, but not here, not now. Grandpa Robert walked over to Emma and put his big hand on her shoulder. Young lady, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't let her hurt Mom anymore, Emma said simply, and I couldn't let her break up Uncle David's family either. You did the right thing, sweetheart, Grandma Linda said, giving Emma a hug. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's always better than living a lie. Aunt Margaret stood up and walked over to me. Rachel, honey, I owe you an apology. Some of us weren't sure what to think when Michael left. We should have known better. You don't owe me anything, I said. This family has always been good to me. And you've always been good to us, Grandpa Robert said firmly. Divorce papers don't change that. You're a Johnson, Rachel. You always will be. I felt tears starting in my eyes. After 2 years of feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, these words meant everything. What about the custody papers? Cousin Jake asked, pointing to the documents still scattered on the coffee table. Emma walked over and picked them up. Without saying a word, she tore them in half again, then again. I think these belong in the trash. Emma, Michael said, his voice shaky. I never wanted to take you away from your mom. That was all Jessica's idea. She said it would be better for you, but I should have known. Dad, Emma interrupted, you should have known a lot of things, like maybe don't trust someone who talks bad about your family behind your back. Michael winced, but he nodded. You're right. I made terrible choices. I hurt you and your mom, and I hurt this whole family. Yes, you did, Emma said matter-of-factly, but people can change if they really want to. Uncle David finally looked up from his chair. His face was red and blotchy from crying. I need to go find Karen. I need to try to fix this. David, Grandpa Robert said sternly, you better do more than try. That woman has been nothing but good to you for 22 years. I know, Dad, I know. David stood up slowly. Rachel, I'm sorry about what Jessica said about you. She was wrong. You're not pathetic. You're one of the strongest people I know. Thank you, David. I hope you can work things out with Karen. After David left to chase after his wife, the family slowly started to relax. The little kids went back to playing. The adults began cleaning up from dinner. But the mood was different now, lighter somehow, like a poison had been removed from the air. Mom, Emma said, sitting down next to me on the couch, are you okay? I'm better than okay, I said, putting my arm around her. I'm proud of you. What you did took real courage. I learned from the best, she said, leaning against me. Michael approached us hesitantly. Rachel, could we maybe talk sometime this week? I know I have a lot to make up for. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in months. He looked older, tired, and genuinely sorry. We can talk, Michael, but it's going to take time to rebuild trust. I understand. And Emma, I hope someday you can forgive me for being such an idiot. Emma considered this seriously. I can forgive you, Dad, but you have to promise to be smarter about who you date next time. Despite everything, Michael actually smiled a little. Deal. As the evening wound down and people started heading home, Grandma Linda pulled me aside. You know, dear, that blue dress really does look beautiful on you. I laughed, remembering Emma's insistence that I wear it. Emma picked it out. That girl has good instincts about everything. Looking around at the family that had welcomed me back with open arms, watching my daughter laugh with her cousins like nothing had changed, I realized Emma was right about more than just the dress. Sometimes the truth really does set you free.